All right, hello, Twitch people. Thank you, Andy, for the sub. We're just going to get started in just a second. I appreciate everybody going live on Facebook. I am T Dog. We start Twitch a little bit before Facebook, but I'm going to set that up actually right now. But I hope that everyone's having a great day. Champ, how are you doing before we get started on the podcast?
I'm still sort of under the weather. That I haven't shared this with a lot of people, only like a couple people that I tested positive for COVID on Thursday. So I've been dealing with
Oh
that.
no. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry to hear that, bud.
But I mean,
That's
it's been basically just like a cold, but it's made me so sleep. Like I have never felt this sleepy on consecutive days in a very long time. Like I literally slept all day yesterday. Thankfully, I recorded the Commanders game, so I was able to watch it from start to finish and stuff like that. Because I saw it in spurts yesterday, in between different times I was napping. So, but I'm at the tail end of it because, like I said, I found out I had it on Thursday, so I should be good by tomorrow or by Wednesday. So, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, like I said, it's just like a cold, but it makes you feel sleepy as hell.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when I had COVID, I was very foggy and very sleepy as well. So I feel you on that. Um, Thank you. Oh wow, Ginger Dory, a good friend of mine, used to be known as House Ginger. She just changed her name. Just came and she actually is sub for 11 months, but I don't think she's ever been on stream before. And uh yeah, she says, "Welcome to having COVID. I hope you feel better soon." Yeah,
Thank you.
that's definitely
And thank you, Carly.
yeah. So appreciate everyone for tuning in. We got a bunch of people already live. I'm about to hit the play button on Facebook. I am gonna hit the record button real fast, in case for our backup recording. Record on this
Recording
computer.
in progress.
And yeah, we're gonna get started on Facebook in just 1 second. I'm just gonna click the go live here on Sports on the Hill podcast. And so yeah, all right. We're gonna silence for 10 seconds and then we're gonna get started. Hello and welcome to episode 315 of Sports on the Hill podcast. We are live here on Facebook and live on Twitch as well. Welcome to both of those audiences. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We actually almost have a hype train going on. Oh, wow. Thank you, Tina. This is the first hype train I've had in a very long time. So I really appreciate everyone for the early support on the stream live on Twitch. It's great to see everybody live. Tina French, Carly, Ginger, got Primordial Sounds here as well, and a bunch of people also lurking. So I really appreciate everyone for tuning in live. I'll be sharing the Facebook feed in just a few minutes when we get into our football segment. This episode is going to be an up and down roller coaster. It's I thought the Commanders played a great game yesterday. So we did end up losing, and we fell to 2-2, unfortunately, on an overtime field goal to the Eagles. And I tried to get a bunch of different Eagles fans to actually be on the show tonight, Champ. I reached out to 4 different Eagles fans, but actually most of them are under the weather or had a last-minute emergency. So we were going to have a fan dueling segment. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen tonight. Some of them did write in what their thoughts were on the game, and I will read some of those live on air. After the first segment. So we got
I'm
a
kind of
bunch
glad they didn't make it. I don't have the energy to argue, honestly.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. I was gonna put it at the end of your segment, so you could have ducked out if you didn't want to. But I do appreciate you being here, Champ. The segments will go this way on tonight's episode. We'll start off with the Commanders talk. We'll break down this unfortunate overtime loss. And oh wow, I think Ginger Dory just gave the biggest gift I've ever gotten on a live episode, which is 1,000 bits. So thank you for that. And they actually completed level 1 of the hype train, which I also not sure we've ever gotten to level 2. So I appreciate all the hype and the early support for sure. So start with Commanders talk. We're gonna have Dujunneas join us in just a couple of minutes live on air. Then we're gonna have him and Champ break this loss down, but I don't think it's as bad as some Commanders fans are putting it out to be. I don't think it's also as big of a win as the Eagles fans are making it out to be, which I thought was kind of funny because in some way, like the Eagles fans before the game were like, "We're gonna crush you," and then afterwards they're like, "We won the biggest game ever," and I'm like, "You won by 3 points, and before you were gonna crush us by 10. So what is it? Like you didn't even cover." And yeah, it's actually we're about to beat our all-time levels 5% through level 3 on the hype train. So just if anyone was curious about that, but no pressure on anybody, but I just wanted to put that out there that we are on level 2. And so we have had a level 2. We got the New York Islanders just scored a goal. They trail the Devils 5-6 in a live NHL game. We'll have NHL stats all night. I'm also going to put on the Monday Night Football game in a second and give live updates on that as well. After we have the segment with Champ and Dujunneas, I'll talk to Champ a little bit about some wrestling and his overall thoughts on the week that was for the NFL. And then we're going to bring in Tim and Arun, and we're going to have pretty much our full NBA roundtable, and we're going to break down the week that was for DMV sports. So we'll talk a little bit about the Orioles, a little bit about the Nationals, the DC United, and some other teams as well. In that segment, we'll also talk about the Ravens and their win. I actually got to watch that game live with Tim, so we'll break that down as well. And then at about 10:15 to 10:20, we're going to bring back in our Capitals roundtable, and Gil and C4 and I will break down the 2 preseason games that we had this past week, and one of them C4 went to, so we'll talk to her about going to that game as well. A big full about hour and 45 minutes to 2-hour show tonight. Really appreciate everyone for tuning in. The Canadians just scored a goal. They trailed the Maple Leafs 3-4, and the Winnipeg Jets just scored. So we're getting all the NHL scores live thanks to Sports Scorebot. So thanks to them for that. With that, we're going to bring in. I'll start with you, Champ. Any news that you want to let people know? I know we talked a little bit about you being under the weather before we got live on the podcast. I'm sorry that you got COVID. Any other news or notes that you want to talk about before we get into it?
Well, I was gonna mention this when we talked about wrestling, but I mean, a big, huge free agent signing happened over the weekend with AEW. Like WWE Hall of Famer Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge, is now All Elite, which is a big get for AEW. He becomes only the 5th WWE Hall of Famer to either make an appearance and or sign with AEW since its inception back in 2019. And he announced during the media scrum that he is going to be full-time. He's not going to show up every 3 months and do a program for like a couple of weeks and then go away again. He's going to be there weekly, and he's already got his debut match set for next Tuesday on Dynamite, but this week he's going to make his first appearance for the 4-year anniversary of Dynamite, and then he's going to make an appearance for his Collision, and then he's going to make his first match next week. So he's going to be there constantly. So I'm really excited about that. But that's about it for right now. I got more stuff to talk about wrestling wise later on.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. I'm curious if he's going to his tag team partners over there at AEW, right?
Christian Cage.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see if they get back together. And
after what happened last night, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Interesting. All right, I'll pick your brain a little more about that in our wrestling segment. So stay tuned to that. And Andy just used one of our brand new graphics. I wanted to see if anyone could do it. So if you use Snowball now, exclamation Snowball for any sub in chat, they can throw a snowball and see if they can hit one of us. It's a random location of where it throws, and it's kind of cool. Also, I'll show you everybody in chat real quickly some of the sub perks. So if you do sub C, which is for sub commands, it shows all the different commands that you can do, including throwing a snowball, doing an NFL dance. There's a mega evolution, hockey goals, OB cups, and touchdowns, and even make Lily appear as well. So I think there's like a 10-second cooldown maybe on the snowball. I really appreciate everyone for completing the level 1 hype train. It was level 2, 28%, which is amazing. And I thank everyone for being a part of that. And yeah, let us know if they hit a snow. If one of them hits it and you can get a screenshot of it, you can actually win a prize. You just have to send it to me on Instagram or any DM.
Harley almost hit me with the snowball. It hit right above where my belts are.
Yeah, it's nice. It was
So
very
it
close.
just missed me, but it almost got me. So she got close.
Nice. All right, well, let's we'll talk more about the commands and all the different things. You can also, if you're not a sub, you can use your points and use and do a lot of those things through points as well. And we're trying out all the different trigger fire stuff. And yeah, it should be fun. I like the little games that people can play now live in chat. I hope that people enjoy that, and it's a good reason to come over to Twitch if you're live on Facebook. With that, I'm going to bring in Dujunneas, and I want to congratulate Dujunneas on the first episode of his brand new show, and I'm actually going to do his brand new command here in chat, see if it works, and it should make a graphic appear live on air, which I don't know why that didn't work, but it's supposed to make a pitch. Things don't always work as they're planned, that's always true. Oh, I have an idea. Hold on,
Works.
So let me see if we do it. I'm gonna try it one more time. Let's see here. If we do it like this, I realize I never actually reset my my graphic thing. It should do it though. Anyway, a graphic is supposed to appear on air, but whenever you're testing things, it doesn't always happen. It worked earlier, of course, before this. But I really appreciate everyone for tuning in and being a part of this. DJ, let people know about the Not Bland show, what was on your first episode, and then we'll get into some Commanders talk.
Well, last week we talked about the NHRA. They're in their now third race of the season. We were talking about the second race there in Charlotte. We got an opportunity to talk a little NFL, go around the NFL with Sergio Rodriguez. And then we brought on my brother and colleague, Lake Lewis, and we talked a little Commanders coming into this Eagles game.
Yeah, it was a great show. I was able to tune in live, and it's on a ton of different platforms. You can definitely check out Dujunneas' personal Facebook page. You can also check out the show's Facebook page or the YouTube channel. And Dujunneas and I were working behind the scenes today on actually getting it up on all podcast platforms. So it's now, the first episode is up on all podcast platforms now, and that link is in our Twitch chat. And I also got that link, I believe, in the Facebook description as well. So congratulations on the first episode. That's always the toughest one.
It is.
Get all the kinks out, and now you know how to do it, and you can replicate that, and you can move from there. And I'm so proud of you. I mean, this podcast network has been so much fun to be a part of with you and your previous show, and I'm excited that you're bringing this new show here and having lots of awesome guests. And you have a lot of awesome new features that you can do with bringing in live guests, and it opens up the door to doing a similar to program to what we do here, but more racing and some more general NFL talk as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's exciting, and I like the easiness of it, being able to have guests on. So this week we'll have some more guests. Elon Warner, he's the founder of the drag racing bracket bonanza that I was able to win for Charlotte, and we'll be having on Mike Patton. He is the lead of the Touring the AFC South podcast. We'll be talking a lot of AFC South and a lot of AFC football. And then lastly, we'll bring on Wole from the urban sports scene, and we'll talk Commanders, and we'll talk that Thursday night football game.
Yeah. Okay. I got it to work. I was trying to make it work. I just want to show people off your brand new graphic, and I'm happy that it's working.
Yeah.
And all the different graphics are kind of fun because they can make it's. Carly just made Lily pop up on screen, and so it'll be fun. I like interactive. I've always dreamed of having an interactive show that people could kind of make it their own. And now they can, and it still won't affect the audio podcast. I don't have any sound effects or anything like that. So that way it's still clean on Facebook. But I thought it'd just be something fun, and it's just fun to see people be able to do it live on air. But let's get into some Commanders talk. I was really happy with how that game went. I thought that they played a really good first half. The second half, they had some miscues especially defensively, but also the offense kind of slowed down until the very end. But they really got it together in the end and showed some resiliency to force overtime. And then in overtime, we'll have to talk about this call because I talked to a lot of Eagles fans today, and they all believe that he's out, obviously. And I talked to all these Commander fans, and everyone thinks he's in, obviously. And it was close. And I understand that the call on the field was that he was not in. Although the Commanders argue that one of the officials thought that he was, but the overruling official said he was not. And then they went to review, and that's important because they went with the call on the field. Right. They didn't have enough to showcase it one way or another.
I disagree with that because there's a shot out there that shows Terry McLaurin's foot right in front of, and there's space between the out of bounds line and his foot. So I'm not buying it.
I agree with that. The only thing that we can't tell though is we see that it's hovering over it. How do we know that it's pushing on the ground? Like that's the only argument I can see against that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, and that's the way they called it on the field. So, that's usually what it goes with. Usually what they go with if they can't prove everything. So they will stay in with that call on the field.
They also want to get out of Philly alive, right? So like
true. True.
Big facts. Big facts. Yeah, you overturn that call, you're not getting out of Link alive. I promise you that. Yeah. That's why I wasn't mad at the call, because I'm like, nah, they made a business decision. They buy
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Champ, how did you see that play? Do you think that
honestly, I can't even if I take away my bias, I honestly cannot sit here and say either way it could have gone. Honestly, it looked like he stepped on the defender's arm and his toe. You can't tell. There wasn't the proper angle to tell where that other toe was, whether it was touching the white line, whether it was touching it away from the white line and on green. You can't tell. So again, we joke around. I can say, yeah, the refs made a business decision. They value their lives. They didn't want to have to deal with the Philly fans and trying to get out of the Link alive. But honestly, they had to make the call they had to make. They already said on the field it was incomplete. They couldn't go back on the replay without a proper angle to say, oh, no, it was complete. And then on the flip side, if they say, oh, it was complete, and then they go on and have the same angles and the same thing, there was no evidence to be able to overturn regardless of what the call was. So it was just one of those tough calls that they had to make. And they had to stick by it. Honestly, They had to stick by it. There was nothing else they could do. There was no visual evidence to say if it was one or the other, depending on what the call was. It just was hard. So either way, I feel like it didn't cost anybody the game. It was just a tough call.
Yeah. I mean, if they called it a completion on the field, it would have stood.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing is, for me, like, that wasn't the play. Like, I'm so sad about the punter. Like, he's been our MVP the whole season, and he found that was the time to have his worst punt of his season, maybe of his career. Like, he's so solid all the time, and I hate to put it on him, but like a difference of 20 yards there is everything in overtime, right? Yeah, they could have pinned them back, and
my theory though is that's something to look at. But before you ever even get into overtime, this team comes back from behind. And my problem is once again, this defense gives up 30 points and they come out and they're flat. And the stats look good. I mean, it was 33.33% third down conversion rate. They were 4-12, but at the end of the day, they allowed some big plays. And this is not the defense itself, but my problem is that you have a lot of first rounders and there's a lot of gas in that front seven. And it seems to me, as we are every year, and I said it on my show, I have Jack Del Rio on the chopping block for the first half of the year until he gets his act together in the second half, and they start playing and start hunting like they should. This whole hum attitude he has on the sideline, it is replicated by his defense. They talk fast start, but your scheming does not indicate fast start. You're allowing opposing teams' offenses repeatedly to dictate to them what they're going to do. They are constantly being led by the opposing team's offense every time, instead of going out and setting the tone and dictating. I've also talked about the fact that it's time to stop having guys like Chase Young and Montez Sweat to be lining up in the same spots every time. You look at the Cowboys, you look at all these other defenses that have big-time players like a Micah Parsons or whatever. They're moving them all over the field. You don't know where he's coming from. You don't know what gap he's coming through, none of that. And it's time to turn it loose. I don't know what he's waiting on. The only time we've seen this defense act like they were manhandling the opponent was the second half of the Denver Broncos game. And that's where my problem is. I understand, and you know, Carol, we talked about it, you know, about the numbers and all that. But at the end of the day, I watched the Jets team score 20 points, being 20-20, and it stayed that way for a long time. And that Jets defense stayed in and fought for their team, and they lost by 3. So don't give me the notion that, oh, well, the offense fluttered and sputtered at times and the defense was out there. That's crap, because the Jets, who they showed up pretty good offensively, but the Jets defense had to be out there against Pat Mahomes, and they held their own. If it wasn't for a fumble by Zach Wilson, they likely win that game. So we need that type of performance at every once in a while from this defense. And in the first half of the seasons that Jack Del Rio has been here, we get this nonsense here. And I'm just kind of tired of it now, especially when you have a guy in EB that's getting the job done. And you can tell that this offense, especially in this game, this offense takes on the identity of its offensive coordinator. And they go out and they attack. I mean, the attitude that Terry came out with those first 2 catches was absolutely, I said today they're going to make that defense pay all day long. And they daggone sure did that. But they need their defense to come in and at least get a stop or 2 and stop allowing teams to just jump up and get 20, 30 points early. It's just sickening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least on the bright side in this game, they showed, what they had early. I thought that they scored the touchdown the first drive.
Yep.
For us to be up, at halftime, they did all the right things. The Eagles made adjustments. The Eagles are on paper a better team. There's a reason.
And I agree with that.
They're
but
favored
still.
by. Oh wow, a 52-yard touchdown reception right there. In this Seahawks game, where he just tiptoed down the line and avoided 2 guys. Oh, I think he went out of bounds there, though. I think that's going to come back in the 10-yard line. But what an effort, though, to try to get it across the pylon and across the end zone there. Like, just mad props for him leaping and his knee is down there too. All right, so it's either be back at the 10 or the 1. There's a couple of different spots. I think he's out here, right? They're showing the replay right now on mine, but yeah, I think. Oh, it's close. It's again with the little green sliver.
Yeah,
I hate that. I think he'll be out there though. But it'll be interesting to see what the call is. But on the field, I think they called it a touchdown, right? So, always interesting stuff there. But I agree. I thought that they played a great game. I'm happy they beat the spread. There was a lot to be happy about.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think the second half they just didn't quite play great, but then the resilience there, I think. Going forward, it's going to help them tremendously.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong; they learned a lot from this. But at the end of the day, you preach about fast starts. We're 4 weeks in, and you've allowed a team that in the Cardinals who's scrappy, but defense should have been able to dominate them early. And you preach fast starts. The offense come out, get your points. You go out and you just let them waltz right down the field. Don't get me wrong. They are a very good offense. They are the runner-up to the Super Bowl and division winner. So, yes, you took the team and took them right the distance. But the bottom line is at the end of the day, there's other teams that they've played that have been able to hold them down and make Hurts look inept. And this defense should have been able to do that early. And again, repeatedly for the fourth week, they just look out of sync, and they allow them out of sync flat, and they allow the offense to dictate to them what they're going to do until they at sometimes finally figure it out, and sometimes they don't figure it out. And if you're going forward, if you're going to win football games, you're going to do some things, you got to start coming up and start looking like what you have as far as talent wise on the football field. And that's my only gripe.
Yeah. So we got a touchdown for real this time. And then a fight breaking out, which I always love. Oh, now here comes the flags. Oh, now a real ruckus. Now people are coming from the sidelines. Interesting. Ooh, this will be interesting to see how this gets sorted out. I updated my touchdown command just in time for that to happen. So I'm happy because it's the Seahawks and we all hate the Giants. So,
Absolutely.
It would be great if we're still a game ahead of the Giants at the end of tonight. So this is what we're rooting for as a podcast, at least. So yeah, it was interesting. Now we're going to flip it a little bit ahead because I know that your time is short. And I do want to get your thoughts real quickly on this. How does this play going forward against the Bears? Very short week, right? So not a lot of days of practice. They don't usually practice on the Monday after a game. They don't tend to practice the day before a game, but do a walkthrough, right? So that pretty much leaves a one practice on Tuesday, maybe two. If you did one on Wednesday and then you did the walkthrough on Thursday because it's such a late game on Thursday, there's a possibility of that. I have this horrible feeling of a trap game. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, it seems, online, because they're like, the Bears are really bad. They looked not so bad for the first three quarters. They did fall apart in the end of the last game. But I always feel a team that's winless is always very dangerous, like an injured animal, and they're trying to get that win for their fan base and for their livelihood. Going 0-5 is basically a death. I mean, 0-4 is probably already a death wish on your season, but 0-5 for sure is, right.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to be angry that they let that game off the hook in the fourth quarter in the last game and have an opportunity just a couple of days later to right that wrong coming into Washington. It is a trip for them, but we can't overlook it. We can't get cocky here.
Well, I'll say, if you think it's easy, then what was the Arizona Cardinals? Yeah, that's what I thought. So with that said,
or the Broncos, we had to come back against them.
Well, the Broncos are not the Cardinals. You know what I mean?
The Cardinals beat Dallas, right?
But I think Dallas also thought the same thing.
Right.
A bye week, and they got caught. I look, the one thing about this that makes it different is that, believe it or not, Washington is desperate too. They done lost 2 games that they feel like they should won already. And look at Ron. If you look at Jonathan Allen and his press conference, there's a lot of angry people. And they say they plan on righting the wrong. So, sure, the Bears are desperate, but they also coming into a desperate situation, and they're on the road. So, no, you can't overlook the Bears. But at the same time, this Washington football team also is desperate and also wants to get a win. And knows that they have to get a win here. There's no doubt about it. So I like their chances. The thing of it is, again, this is the 5th week we're dealing with a mobile quarterback. Not as accurate, but he's mobile. So again, the same thing I've been preaching for the last 3 weeks applies. No hero ball up front. They did a pretty good job of maintaining and keeping Hurts contained. That has to continue. Don't want Fields to get loose. And they have to come out and be the aggressor. The offense, we all know they're going to come out and be aggressive. I think EB understood what was going on and what happened in that Buffalo game, and he made the appropriate changes. What I like about this offense is it's hard to key on. Did you guys notice how the week before they didn't have Logan Thomas, so they used Bates and others, and this week those two guys didn't even smell the ball. They went and used Logan Thomas. Every time you think you got this offense figured out, they're using someone else. I go to Jahan's press conference. He talked about how he had that drop and he wasn't targeted until the end of the game. They went and used other players. Look at what they're doing. They're kind of easing in these little I call them the new Swiss Army knife and Curtis Samuel, and how they're easing them in the different type of unique plays. This guy can also play the slot and get big yards in the pass game too. So there's a lot to be had here. I think there's a lot for the Bears to have to contend with. And along with an angry offense that feels like they should have won that game against Philly, and a defense that has something to prove. The Bears are the Bears. But again, if you come in and you think you're just going to roll the helmets out, you will get kicked in the teeth. But I don't think this is this football team by any means. I think they have something to prove Thursday night, and I believe they're going to do it.
Yeah, I hope so. I think they can win. I get worried about the cockiness of the fan base, and they have to take this very, very seriously. I'm gonna get Champs real quickly, his thoughts on this, and then I'm gonna get your final thoughts, and I'll let you out of here.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie, we talked about it in our group chat earlier on. This is almost like the literal classic definition of a trap game. You have a team that literally had a lead and lost it to start their season winless. And now they're coming on the road. They have a chip on their shoulder. They want to come into our house, defecate on our porch, and then leave it there for us to clean up after. That's the mentality that this team is having coming into our house. Now, this is going to be interesting how the dynamic is going to be in terms of the fan base in FedEx Field, because it is a Thursday night. It's a work night, it's a school night. So how many fans are going to get off of work, deal with that rush hour traffic to come all the way to Landover to watch this team that's 2-2 face an 0-4 team who they're so assured that they're going to beat the living crap out of on primetime TV? That's where my question lies. Is that stadium going to be rocking just like it has been for the first couple of home games?
I think it will. I really do. I think there's a new vested interest in this football team. And I think it started after the ownership change. And then it also helped the way the new ownership has really been, I will say, touchable, reachable, really mingling with the fans and showing that they care about them. I think there's a newfound enthusiasm about this Commanders team. And I think they'll show out knowing what's at stake. And also that this is the game that can be had in a primetime game for Washington to be able to show what they're really capable of. And I think the fan base will come out and support this team, because even though people are complaining about this or that, I think most people are well aware that last week, this team has, again, taken more steps. The growth process, went even further forward. And they understand that this team is capable of putting anybody down any given Sunday. And I don't think the fans feel like they never have a chance in any game outside of the Buffalo game. I don't think they ever feel like there's not a chance that they can come back. I know that I don't feel that way. It's just amazing the difference when you have a competent offensive coordinator, what that can do for your offense. And, Sam Howell just continues to do better and better. But, I do think they'll come out and support.
I also think less Bears fans will buy up the tickets. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
like the Bills a couple of weeks ago, or those fans travel.
yeah,
The Bills Mafia is a historically known, at least in the last couple of years, as a traveling fan base, and
yep.
so it's a little bit of a different situation. Got to give the Giants a little credit here. They forced a 3-and-out after a really great punt pin the Seahawks back. They didn't even make it to the 20-yard line. They're punting here with 38 seconds left. They have used up all of their timeouts, so it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do here. I'm just gonna let people know what happens in the punt. The punt goes. It's a pretty good punt. They punted all the way to the 30 and makes him drift out of bounds. It's pretty impressive when he was punting it, from the line of scrimmage was at the 17 or the other side. There is a flag on the play, so we'll see what that is like. But yeah, I'm so excited, Dujunne, for your new show. Your shows are on Thursdays. Is that a typical?
Wednesday.
Is Wednesday.
Wednesday
Okay.
at 7.
Wednesday at 7. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. So people should definitely check it out. I'm going to do the DJ command again. And you can catch Dujunne on the Not Bland show every Wednesday at 7 Eastern. The link is there that goes to the audio podcast that comes. I'll also update our website in the upcoming weeks with links to that, and also links to the different video platforms for it as well. But you can just search the Not Bland show on Facebook or on YouTube, and it should pop up on those services as well. Also, that link links them to the page that on the bottom of it actually, I believe, has the YouTube and other social media links on there as well. So people should go check it out. DJ did a great job with episode 1. I'm excited to see what episode 2 brings. You've been a great member of our show for, I think, at least 5 years now. So
Yeah, man, it's been a long time.
yeah, so it's been a lot of fun covering this team. Hopefully on this short week we'll get a good one, and next week we can talk about a Commander's victory and not a spoiled overtime like this past week.
Yeah,
But
it would be nice.
Yeah, I appreciate your time as always, and we'll definitely talk to you soon. Is there any last thing that you want to give a shout out, or anything else you should let people know about?
Oh no, I just want to say that Edge coming to AEW is huge, and I don't care what anybody says. I think this is one of the best additions that they've made. It's not just about him as a wrestler, but his experience and how he can help this roster grow. Hopefully, I don't know what Beth Phoenix's contract situation is and what stipulations are, but I'd like to see her help out the women's division as well. I think she's someone that is very knowledgeable and can really help some of the young ladies there. But this is huge, and it says a lot about the AEW product when a guy who feels like he's not finished wants to continue to wrestle and does it full time. And his enthusiasm in that press conference really says a lot. So, all this bickering and crap about who's better, it doesn't matter. We have 2 great companies, and there's a lot of wrestling out there. It's competition, and competition creates the ability for people to continue to thrive and to want to do better because they see the other product doing so good. And that gives us all great wrestling to watch. So it doesn't matter whether you like AEW or WWE, wrestling is wrestling.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. It's actually a great segue because I was going to talk wrestling for a couple of seconds with Champ. So thank you for that. And we'll talk to you next week.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good show.
All right.
Peace out, DJ.
All right. So, Champ, on that subject, we'll talk about it real fast. You mentioned at the top of the show that you thought that they wouldn't be reunited. I always assumed if they were on the same platform that would just be a no-brainer just because of their history. Why did you feel, or what happened in that first episode that made you think otherwise?
So Sunday night, AEW had a pay-per-view called Wrestle Dream, which was a tribute to the late Antonio Inoki on the 1-year anniversary of his passing. Antonio Inoki was the founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling. And the main event saw Christian Cage defend the TNT Championship against Darby Allin in a 2 out of 3 falls match, which was a wild match that saw Nick Wayne, who is an 18-year-old wrestling prodigy and a friend of Darby Allin, turn on Darby Darby to help Christian Cage retain the championship 2 falls to 1. After the matchup, Wayne, Christian Cage, and Luchasaurus were beating up Darby, and then they were beating up Sting, and then Edge made his debut, and he came in, and it seemed like they were going to reunite. He gave him the chair to do the concerto, which was their signature thing back in when they were in WWE. But then he turned around and he nailed Nick Wayne. He hit Luchasaurus and he speared both of them, but not Christian Cage. Christian Cage got out of the ring and stared him down, and Edge stared him down, and he shook Darby Allin and Sting's hand. So it looks like they're going to be on opposite sides because Christian Cage is one of the most monstrous heels right now in AEW. I mean, he gets a negative reaction no matter where he goes, even in his own home country of Canada. So for them to reunite, Edge would have to be it would either have to be Edge being a monster heel or Christian having a complete turn. And right now, the role that he's on in his current character, a turn right now would make zero sense. It would have to be that Edge would have to turn in order for them to be reunited. So right now, they're probably going to be enemies for the time being, and that'll probably be his first major feud is with Christian. But 9 times out of 10, it's gonna produce a really something really good. There's a lot of people who are very skeptical though of Edge being in AEW because AEW is more so a wrestling centric organization, whereas the Edge pretty much came up in his career in WWE, which was more of a character and storyline centric organization, with wrestling being mostly secondary. So it's going to be interesting to see how someone who's most of his career has been based on working up his character and being different characters and working different storylines to coming into a company which is more so focused on wrestling and a lot not so much on wrestling, on storylines and character building and stuff like that. But I think that Edge, being that he's been in the business for, and he said this a lot of times on his press during the media scrum after the show, that he's been in the game for 31 years. 25 of those were with WWE. But he spent 6 years prior to that working indies in Canada. So before he went and did 25 years of sports entertainment, he did 6 years of pure wrestling. So it's not like that's going to just go away after a while. He probably has that still stuck in the back of his mind and can use everything he learned from WWE into into AEW in terms of that sort of side of the business. So very, very, very exciting times. And I like the fact that he's going to be full-time. He's not going to be just here for a few weeks doing a program and then be gone for 3 months and then just show up again. He's going to be there on a regular basis, and he's going to be able to bring that knowledge and that, his wisdom and things like that to a very young locker room. People seem to forget that Edge, he's in his 40s, but he lost 9 years of wrestling because of a career-ending neck injury that he managed to come back from in 2020. So he lost 9 years. So that's 9 years of not taking a lot of bumps. So he still got some time on. He still has some time. He still has some ticks left on his bump clock. So he could go out there, do some really good matches and really, really energize this young locker room. I really think he can. I think you just got to wait and see.
Yeah, for sure. I love seeing you talk wrestling. One of my favorite things, one of my favorite people, JXO, who I'm on for, is a big wrestling fan. I love that he came in right when that segment started so that he got to hear some of this. Great talk. If people want more No Spots podcast, definitely go check Champ out. I'm going to do his command again. It would actually make the No Spots graphic pop up, but I've already turned it on because I was kind of doing a mini No Spots segment right now. But whenever we're talking and your command pops up, that will automatically flip for you as well now. You've been such an amazing co-host this last couple of months, and I really appreciate all
that game yesterday with the Commanders was really good, by the way.
Yes, I'm going to bring in